Peace, Love, Liberty Radio version 4.0. Prepare for launch.
OTC is go.
Packetbus is go.
PTC is go.
LPS is go.
Houston flight is go.
Molotov.
STM is go.
Safety comms is go.
STU is go.
LRD is go. SRO is go.
CDI is go.
Launch Director, NTD, our launch team is ready to proceed at this time.
99, proceeded, 3, 2, 1, ignition. Right away, Houston.
Consequences so severe, so pull your trigger quickly, dear. Our patriots are acting up, let's punish them with fear. Hey, hey!
Hey, welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat. You know, I still haven't gotten down the nicknames, or as somebody sent me an email, they said, you shouldn't call them nicknames, you should call them monikers. Okay, well, whatever you call them, I've still not really got them down, so I'll just keep telling you my name, and if you guys come up with nicknames for me, send those to, or monikers, send those to feedback@fppradio.com, and if you ask it in the form of a question, then I will answer it on Wednesday, because that's what I do. Every Wednesday I answer your questions as part of an Ask Me Anything. Send those questions to ama@fppradio.com. And this is version 4.0 of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. It's where I help you become a better version of you while I become a better version of me. And, you know, I'm going to do things a little bit differently today. Instead of just doing a pure self-help show for the next, almost 30 minutes, I will fit 4.0 into this episode towards the end of the show. But there's been some things that have happened over the last couple of days that I would be remiss if I did not mention. So on Tuesday, there was the man down in Baton Rouge who was killed by police. That man was Alton Sterling. The next day, there was a man in Minneapolis. That would have been Wednesday in Minneapolis when Philando Castile was killed by police. And I believe there have been somewhere near 600 people that have been killed by police so far this year. And there may have been other people killed by police earlier in the week. But those are the two stories that wound up making national news. And, well, last night there was a horrible tragedy, just like, not just like the deaths of Mr. Sterling and Mr. Castile, but there was another tragedy, this in Dallas, to where there was a protest where people were protesting police violence. And then somebody decided that he thought it would be a good idea to wind up shooting police officers. And I'm not one of these people that celebrates when police get killed. I don't celebrate when members of the military get killed. I don't celebrate when members of the military kill people in other countries. I don't celebrate when police kill people. I don't celebrate when people are murdered. I don't celebrate when people are killed. And yes, one can be killed without having been murdered. That's not a discussion that I want to have today. But my point is, I don't celebrate people dying. And I think that it's a tragedy when such things happen. But again, I would be remiss if I did not talk about this at all. And one thing that I find to be very interesting is that, some members of the media and a lot of people involved in various government positions, they were demanding immediately, as soon as the reports of police officers shot in Dallas near a protest, they were demanding immediately somebody from Black Lives Matter needs to denounce this shooting. Okay, and people did. that there's a story that I'll touch on from BuzzFeed where it said Black Lives Matter leaders condemn police shootings in Dallas. And there's a bunch of different tweets and posts that they put in this story from BuzzFeed. But one thing that you don't hear is whenever the police kill someone, people demanding that the quote-unquote good cops need to denounce the cops that murdered someone. And yes, I did use the term murder. The Hennepin County Medical Examiner in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where Philando Castile was killed by police, the medical examiner ruled that death a homicide. If you are not familiar with the situation of Philando Castile, he was, I believe, a 32-year-old man, black man. Not that it really matters. To some people it does. To others it doesn't. But that's a detail that you will hear in the media. So 32-year-old man gets pulled over for a busted taillight. Police officer comes up to the vehicle. And Mr. Castile, based on what his girlfriend who was in the vehicle said, he informed the police officer, that being Philando, informed the police officer, I am a concealed carry firearms permit holder and I do have a firearm on me. And the police officer then demands that he do two things simultaneously that are complete opposites of one another. Keep your hands where I can see them and hand me your license. Well, how can you do that if the license is in your wallet that's probably in a pocket somewhere you can't reach into your pocket, and have your hands where the police officer can see them? We don't know exactly what words were exchanged because if there's video of that encounter, it has not yet been released that I have seen, and I'm fairly certain I would have seen it. I did see where Philando Castile's girlfriend posted video. I did not watch the video, but I've been told about the video, that the video starts after Castile had been shot 4 times by the police. So there's video of him dying and other police officers consoling the officer that shot this man 4 times. There is video of that, but no video of what led up to that. Stay tuned. There's more. This is Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
The Doublespeak Dictionary by Leslie Starr O'Hara satirizes the marked difference between the ideal of we the people and the reality of we the elite, while offering an insightful glimpse into the clockworks of the totalitarian mind. Ever irreverent but never irrelevant, the Doublespeak Dictionary serves as a subversive and humorous but timely reminder that the emperor has no clothes. The Doublespeak Dictionary is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Keep your hands where I can see them, but give me your license and registration. You can't really do both at the same time, but that's what Philando Castile was attempting to do when police then shot him 4 times. The medical examiner in Hennepin County, that's the county in the Twin Cities area of Minnesota, the medical examiner of Hennepin County ruled the death of Philando Castile homicide. Now, what are the chances that the police officer that killed Philando Castile will ever face charges? I would say somewhere between slim and none. But I digress and continue with my thought of you don't hear police condemning what the officer did. But when somebody does something horrendous, like what happened in Dallas, where some guy, Micah Johnson, decided that he wanted to shoot some cops, all of a sudden people are saying everybody that is black or everybody that works for police accountability must condemn what this man has done. And I condemn both things. Although, for what it's worth, I don't know how many people are going to take kindly to me condemning police killing someone. But I can say, as a member of Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, I can say that the drug war has had a lot to do with this. Not that a busted taillight necessarily was, is part of the drug war, but a busted taillight allows police to go on fishing expeditions. What do I mean? Well, see, so police will pull people over, and then they can magically say, I smell drugs. Or, I need to have the dog walk around, or it smells like marijuana. And then they can, do a search, or if the person knows their rights, then the person will say, get a warrant. I'm not letting you search my vehicle unless you get a warrant. But it allows cops to go on these fishing expeditions to where they can find other things. And a lot of that is because of the drug war. So police pull somebody over for not wearing a seatbelt, and then they wind up arresting them for possession of some substance. And it happens all the time. Most of the time, it does not lead to someone dying, but it does lead to someone's life being destroyed. And you might be asking, but Darryl, you're not a police officer. You're not in law enforcement. True, I'm not currently. But 16 years ago, I worked as a corrections officer. And I hated every single day of it because I thought I could be one of the quote-unquote good guys. The system is set up to weed out the good guys. The system is set up to make sure that the badge heavies, the people that want to enforce their authority, wind up staying in. The system is set up to perpetuate the system. So as someone who used to work in law enforcement, I feel that I have every right to condemn when police and other members of law enforcement do absolutely horrible things. And as a police accountability activist and a regular person and someone who has had bad police encounters, I believe I have every right to say that it is absolutely horrible when people just go around killing cops. To say that the police in Dallas need to be murdered because a police officer in Baton Rouge or a police officer in Minneapolis did something horrible is to not understand justice. It would be akin to me saying, well, somebody in your neighborhood robbed me, so therefore it's okay if I beat you with a baseball bat. It's absolutely asinine, and it does not hold the people accountable that actually did the wrong thing. Now, let me give you some stuff here, and I mentioned the BuzzFeed article. I'll just post that in the show notes. You can read that at your leisure. But the Free Thought Project has a story titled Micah X. Johnson Identified as Dead Dallas Gunman, 5 Important Facts You Need to Know. Number one, or rather, let me start before number one. They have a brief paragraph here that says Dallas police have identified a now-deceased suspect in the deadly sniper attack during a peaceful protest over the recent killings of Alton Sterling and Philando Castile. 12 Dallas law enforcement officers were gunned down in the vicious downtown Dallas ambush, with 5 being fatally wounded by what police believe to be multiple shooters who opened fire during the downtown protest. Here's what we know at this point. And then they give 5 facts about the situation and about Micah Johnson. Number 1, the deceased suspect, Micah Johnson, told police he was not affiliated with any groups and he, quote, did this alone. Police named the individual as 25-year-old Micah Xavier Johnson, a U.S. Army veteran who told police he was not affiliated with any groups, and he said he did this alone before ultimately being killed, according to Dallas Police David Brown. Johnson allegedly told police negotiators, quote, "The end is coming," and said he wanted to kill more officers, that according to Brown. Sources told the LA Times that Johnson had no ties to any terror groups and no known criminal history. He lived in the Dallas area and has family members living in Mesquite, Texas, just east of Dallas, according to newspaper reports. Citing federal law enforcement sources, police have said they found no suspected ties to international terrorism. Number 2, this is reportedly the first ever case of a bomb robot being used to kill a suspect. Johnson was subsequently killed using a robotic explosive device after police cornered him in a parking garage at El Centro College. It is reportedly the first time a suspect has ever been killed by a bomb robot. Police attempted to negotiate with the gunman for several hours before finally killing the suspect as he continued to exchange gunfire with police. Brown, that's the police officer who was interviewed, says, "We tried to negotiate for several hours. Negotiations broke down. We had an exchange of gunfire with the suspect. We saw no other option but to use our bomb robot and place a device on its extension for it to detonate where the suspect was. Other options would have exposed our officers to grave danger. The suspect is a result of detonating the bomb." There's more. Stay tuned here to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
It is the year 91,001 BCE. Witness humanity's origins in Hyperchronius, a classic role-playing game for Windows PCs with a story like no other game before. A liberty-oriented experience that is not to be missed. Go to zog.ninja to get your copy of Hyperchronius today. Use the code FPP to get $1 off. Hyperchronius, zog.ninja, code FPP.
You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and Numery supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $3 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's FANS.fppradio.com.
Hi, I'm Nick Hazelton from the Anarcho-Yakutalism podcast, and you're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
So what else do we know about Micah Xavier Johnson and the shooting in Dallas where 5 police officers were killed overnight? Well, we do know that Micah Johnson said he did this alone and was not affiliated with any groups. It's the first time that police have ever used a bomb robot to kill someone. Number 3 on this list from the Free Thought Project of 5 things we need to know. 1 suspect is dead and another in custody. Dallas Mayor Mike Rawlings said in a press conference, "We've got other possible suspects that we're interviewing. They're not being real cooperative at this point." 1 female suspect was taken into custody in the vicinity of the parking garage. Police also took 2 individuals into custody on Interstate 35, and they give an intersection, but that's not of real import. Officers followed the vehicle southbound on I-35 and stopped it on I-35. Again, they give an intersection that means absolutely nothing to me, and most likely it means nothing to anyone outside of Dallas. According to Dallas police, that situation began when a Dallas police officer saw an individual carrying a camouflage bag walking quickly down Lamar Street. The individual threw the bag into a black Mercedes when they sped off at a high rate of speed. Police questioned both occupants of the vehicle before releasing them. The driver told Dallas News 8's Damon Fernandez he was just picking up his brother from the bus station and the bag was his brother's luggage. Investigators have not ruled out the possibility that other suspects helped plan or carry out the deadly shooting and are continuing to investigate. Brown said police want to ensure that everyone associated with the tragic event is brought to justice. Quote, we won't expand on any further on what other suspects we have interviewed or looked at or their status until we get further into this investigation and get closer to a conclusion of what all are involved. Brown continued, I'm not going to be satisfied until we turn over every stone. We're not satisfied that we've exhausted every lead. And we're not going to be satisfied until every lead is exhausted. So if there's someone out there that was associated with this, we will find you, and we will prosecute you, and we will bring you to justice. And, you know, one thing that I find interesting here, and again, I hate to harp on this whole thing of, you know, there's justice for some but not for others. But there is. We have this situation in the United States to where you have police officers that do absolutely horrible, despicable things, and what happens? They wind up getting put on paid administrative leave, and maybe wind up getting a slap on the wrist of, don't do that again. The police department might wind up having to pay a fine because a police officer did something. But the police officer that did the horrible thing, the police officer that violated someone's civil rights, never winds up having their paycheck cut. They don't have to pay out of pocket for any of these court fees that wind up happening. And the families of the people that get killed by police officers never actually see justice. They might get a check because a right was violated, but a check does not actually bring about justice. Because the person that did the thing has never actually learned a lesson. And that's what supposedly the justice system is all about, right? Teaching people a lesson, making sure that they don't do that again. But you don't see that in a lot of the police abuse, police assault cases. Number 4 on the list here from Free Thought Project of 5 things we need to know. Micah Johnson told police he planted IED explosives all over downtown Dallas. Thus far, no bombs have been found. While Johnson was barricaded in the parking structure, he told police that there were explosives planted all over downtown Dallas. Police have not said if any bombs or suspicious items have been found. Police Chief David Brown said at a press conference, he said, we will eventually find the IEDs. Thus far, police have found no such explosive devices. And what were his motives? While police thus far have not found any connections between Micah Johnson and international terrorist groups, investigators said one suspect claimed a racial motive for the shooting. Brown says, quote, he was upset about Black Lives Matter and he wanted to kill white police officers, white people, especially white police officers. And then there's a video of, I believe this is the Dallas police giving a statement about what was going on. I will not be playing that video, but I will wind up jumping into version 4.0 here in the final moments. And how do I connect all of that to version 4.0? Well, quite simply, one word, empathy. And it's a word that describes so much. Empathy is the ability to understand and be aware of and co-experience the feelings and thoughts of other people. Empathy is probably one of the most important skills a person can have, and it's not just for building and maintaining strong and healthy relationships, but to work more effectively and achieve greater success in life in general. It may sound a bit idealistic, but it doesn't prevent it from being true. So why exactly is empathy important? I'll tell you here in the closing moments on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. And empathy is incredibly important, especially in times like this where there are such tragedies happening. Stay tuned.
When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo, and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com. That's getcell411.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Why is empathy important? I've got the story here from Lifehack. They say empathy is important because humans are social animals. No matter how you look at it, humans exist in communication with each other. And there are very few activities they take part in that do not include interactions with other human beings in one form or another. Therefore, it is hardly surprising that the ability to better understand others and read their feelings and emotions gives an advantage to one who has it. It allows you to perceive others' motives, treat them the way they want to be treated, mind their needs, understand how others perceive you, and so on. And just one thing that I want to touch on here quickly on number one, they point out that empathy allows you to treat others the way they want to be treated. You often hear people, especially, those who are religious, say treat others the way you want to be treated, or treat others the way you would treat yourself. Well, I can tell you, I've been pretty damn mean and nasty to myself in the past, and I don't want anybody treating anybody that way. I certainly would not treat other people the way I've treated myself. And that is really important. You should treat people the way they want to be treated. Now, that doesn't mean that you go and buy somebody a Lexus because that's what they want. No. But when dealing with people, you want to be nice to them. And hopefully you would want to be treated in a very similar manner. So the whole, treat others how you would want to be treated, yeah, it does kind of work. But at the same time, some people want to be slapped around and bullied. So, just words of wisdom, you should try to treat others how they want to be treated. Of course, within, the realm of reality and without being an absolute pushover. Number two on why empathy is important, it's good for business and career. It lets you better understand nonverbal components of communication. And we've touched on this in previous episodes of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, where scientists have done research and found that people that are more empathetic are better able to read body language. Number four, empathy makes you better at handling conflicts. It makes it easier to convince and motivate others. It broadens your horizons. And there's more to be read on this. As always, that link will be in the show notes. And don't forget, every Wednesday, I answer your questions. Send those over ama@fppradio.com.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copyheart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas, which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.